Don't stop.
Hi, thanks for joining me on the Everything and Anything in a Big Gay podcast. Just so you know, I've tried to start this intro. This is the 5th time. And every time I get ready to start, I'm like, what am I talking about? I know the guest, but I don't know what I'm talking about. So now I remember. So my guest today, though, I'm going to tell you about him because loved him. An elder gay man in the LGBTQ plus community, has so many amazing stories. I'll tell you about him in a moment. But first, I want to tell you that I seen Disclosure Day, the movie, the Steven Spielberg movie. We never go to the movie theater that often, even though we've gone in the last couple of months, we went before. We've seen Devil Wears Prada too. And we've seen Disclosure Day. And my husband, who is definitely ADHD and just has to talk through every movie or show or whatever, even when we're laying at home in bed or sitting on the couch watching TV, what he's thinking in his head, he will comment on. So, example I'll give you. We were watching this new show called Proud. It is a gay series from Poland. It's in Polish. It's on HBO Max. So good. We only watched 1 or 2 episodes. I think it's amazingly well done. So if you are into LGBTQ plus stories, this one's good because it throws a twist in there in the first episode that you don't see coming, but just give it a chance. But we're watching this show, and he is sitting there saying throughout, oh, he's going to get in that car. Is he the driver? Oh, no, he's in the back seat. What he's thinking in his head is what he's saying out loud. And I just look at him and I'm like, I can hear you, right? Stop. And he's like, oh, that car, he's put it in drive. They're going fast. Look at him, switching lanes. I'm like, okay, even if you are thinking, who thinks about all that in their head? So his head is going a million miles an hour. And I just put it on pause. I'm like, all right, go ahead and say everything you need to say, and then we'll move forward. And then he says, okay, I'm done. Nope, he wasn't done. Because as soon as I hit play, 30 seconds later, oh, he's getting out of the car. There he goes. He's going in the building. Look at him. Yeah, I see. I'm watching it. It's me, you, and the TV. I'm not reading a book. I'm not on my phone. I'm not on my computer. I'm not doing anything. I'm watching. I see what the guy's doing. And I, in my head, know what's going to happen maybe next. I know he's going to get out of the car. And I know he's getting ready to walk in the building. So I don't need you to tell me. That's what he likes to do. But my point is that we went to the movies to see Disclosure Day. And he was not into the movie. And I knew the first half hour he was not into it because he's moving around he's just all over he keeps looking over at me to see what he wants me to turn to him and say, do you want to leave? Because we've done that before. When we both don't like a movie, I'm like, you want to leave? Because only if you do. I'm like, no, only if you do. Because then when we leave, we blame the other person. Oh, I love that movie. And I like the movie a lot. It wasn't a 10, it was a 7. It was worth staying and watching and seeing what happens. And I'm all into Disclosure Day. And I wanted to talk about that before we get into my guest. I think something is getting ready to happen because I'm watching. So I obviously have psychics and mediums and people that do remote viewing. And I just took a psychic medium class that I just finished a couple of weeks ago. And they talked about Disclosure Day in our last class. And all these psychic medium, all these podcast shows that are major podcast brands. The Diary of the CEO. That guy who does that podcast has millions of listeners for every episode. Mayim Bialik, who is got the show Breakdown, which I've mentioned her before, she's got millions of people watching her episode, and they're all talking about Disclosure Day. They say it's coming, and I feel like something's going to happen. Or God, I feel like this world needs a Disclosure Day. We need aliens to come here to fix this shit because this world is not in a good place right now, and they need to suck some of these people up in their UFO and take them and just to another universe. Pick them up, take them, drop them off. Don't let them come back. Not going to name any names, but I'm sure if you're listening to my show, we're probably on the same page. But I'm so into what's going to happen. They keep saying, oh, July, in July, we're going to have this Disclosure Day. So we're in July. I'm waiting for it. They're saying at the World Cup, UFO is going to come over the stadium in New Jersey and do Disclosure Day. Madonna's going to be there that day, so they better not take her. Like, I'd be very upset if the aliens took Madonna. And yeah, I don't know. I think everybody at this point, unless you're super religious or you're just stupid, I think everybody believes that we're not the only things in this huge universe. So I'm this close. I'm so close to getting this guy on my show that was on a very popular podcast. I don't want to jinx it, and I don't want to like say his name in case I don't get him, but he has written back and he is interested in coming on my show, and he's a big deal. And I hope I get him. There's 3 people that I'm very close to getting that will be excellent guests, and I'm hoping they do. And they're all like in that, UFO world, NDE, near-death experiences. Like, I love all that stuff. And again, this show has changed the way I think, but that's where I'm at. So I'm going to tell you today about my guest. His name is Chuck Forrester. He was in San Francisco during Harvey Milk. He knew Harvey Milk. He went through all the shit that San Francisco gays went through, or LGBTQ plus went through. He has lots of stories. He is not, he whatever he wants to say, he's at the age where he can say whatever he wants, because he said some stuff and I'm just like, oh, he talked about fisting. So yeah, he goes there. And I thought he was fantastic, and I was so happy to have him. I respect the older generation because he lived through a lot of shit. He lived through the Harvey Milk stuff. He lived through the AIDS crisis. He lived through so much, and amazing. And I love it that he is putting this in, he's putting his stories into a book. So hopefully what happened through his lifetime will not be forgotten. So enjoy my interview with Chuck Forrester. I really appreciate him, and I hope you appreciate his interview as much as I appreciate talking with him. Thanks for listening. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me in the Everything and Anything and a Bit Gay podcast. Today, I have a guest that you have not met before. His name is Chuck Forrester. He is an author, and he has a long history that we're going to go through and talk about. Welcome to the show, Chuck.
Thank you very much.
So you grew up in or you were part of the San Francisco community back in the 70s. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And so tell me what it was like back then.
It was magical.
Was it? Tell me about that, because I think a lot of people are curious.
Well, first of all, the middle class had abandoned the city, so there was a lot of cheap housing. And guys just had room to, move in. And they were moving in, a lot of them, 1,000 a month. And so for most of us who'd never seen another queer person, it was amazing, because people who were supposed to be straight in our world were gay.
Oh.
Mechanic, the guy, the clerk, the guy in the post office, they were all gay. And it was suddenly like my fondest dream had come true. I was surrounded by handsome, optimistic, happy gay men.
Yeah.
And I can't stress happy enough. They were so excited to be free of the bounds that kept us restrained our entire life, that it was exuberant, and it seemed like the sun shone every day.
Wow. And we'll be right back. Okay, now back to the show. And you grew up in Wisconsin?
I did.
And so that must have been a huge culture shock going from Wisconsin to San Francisco, where you're finding out all these gay men exist and are, and they're part of your everyday world now. So it must have been like Fantasy Island.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was like it was a totally another planet, because it wasn't just a freedom to have guilt-free sex. It was a freedom to be me. I'd never had that before.
And how old were you whenever you moved to San Francisco? What was your age?
I was old. I came out at 28.
Okay. And did you have a relationship before that, like a serious boyfriend or anything?
Oh yeah, I was playing around with boys in junior high.
Oh, okay. Okay. But a serious relationship, did you have like a true boyfriend where you guys were dating and possibly going to move in together and stuff? Did you have a relationship
But
like that?
let me say I had a sex playmate
Okay.
throughout high school.
Okay. Are you still in touch with him by any chance? Do you have any idea where he is
No, no,
now?
he died of alcoholism,
Oh.
which is kind of the way that happens.
And once you got to San Francisco and you kind of discovered this whole new world, well, first I want to ask, where did all the middle class people go? They were leaving the city to move to the suburbs or just move out of the area?
Oh yeah, I mean, with the GI Bill of Rights and the interstate highway system, people who'd been cramped in apartments during the Depression and the war were more than glad to have a two-car garage and a lawn.
Hmm.
So they just bolted.
And so you're on the West Coast, but on the East Coast around the same time, Stonewall riot happened like in 1969,
Yeah,
right? And so
yeah,
you had kind of queer rights, gay rights happening on one coast, but you kind of already had them in some ways in San Francisco, right? There was
yeah.
kind of
1947, I think it was 1956. There was a drag bull that was raided by the cops at the California Hall, and afterwards, out gay men and clergy had a press conference and they denounced the cops. And San Francisco was the first city to have a cop assigned to the queer community.
oh,
And then there was a Compton cafeteria riot. The transvestites refused to leave. And that was 3 years before Stonewall.
wow, that's great. And Harvey Milk, you were there during the Harvey Milk?
I knew Harvey, sure.
Oh, you did.
Of
That
course.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Tell me how it was to know somebody that made such an impact in history.
Well, Harvey, um, you kind of you think of him as kind of a crazy person
Yeah.
because his mind was scattered, his love life was a mess, but he moved to San Francisco. He was a stockbroker in New York, and he moved to San Francisco so he could be gay. That's why he came here.
Hmm.
And he saw the potential of the community before anybody else did. And he formed a business association and he started running for office because he thought we needed representation. He was a jokester. He loved pranks.
That's amazing. And your generation was kind of almost the first generation where almost kind of guilt-free sex was allowed in a way, right? I mean, because you didn't have to hide it as much, especially in San Francisco during this
Oh
time.
God, no! Oh God, no! It was everywhere. It was very public.
It was, yeah, and what was it like, kind of coming from Wisconsin, maybe in the Midwest, where it's more conservative, to being able to be, in this kind of atmosphere where guilt-free sex is fine. You can sleep with whoever you want. You can do whatever you want, and you have like total freedom. You can be your authentic self. But that must have felt amazing.
It was. It was, and it was. Nobody wrote the book yet. We didn't grow up with gay parents, so we had to figure out how to be gay
Yeah.
ourselves. We sort of, and that's where the bars were so important because that's where we got together. That was our meeting place. It was our church. It was our dating, switchboard. It was where we saw each other as a community for the first time in the bars.
Do you feel like today's generation, because they're all on apps, meeting people on apps, they're not going out to bars as much. they're meeting dates, they're meeting friends, they're doing hookups, and they're kind of not using bars and community centers as a way to keep in touch. Not everybody, but it's becoming more like that. What would you kind of like tell the younger generation today? Because you know, I don't think that they understand like what your generation built and what.
And they never will. They're living their lives. You've got their lives to live. But I think what I would tell them is be true to yourself. That applies everywhere.
Yeah,
We were rebels. I mean, we were political just by the very nature of us coming out. And I don't think they're as political as they're not a political statement. And they're not as self-aware of their being queer because that's pretty much accepted.
yeah,
So that's another difference.
yeah. And how was transgender people accepted back then in San Francisco? Were they accepted the same?
Well, the transvestites were the ones who rioted at the Compton cafeteria. They were transvestites. So it's always been a part of the San Francisco community, which has always been open to everybody. So they've always been a part, sometimes more important than others.
Yeah,
Not like today, because they're not targets, but they weren't targets then, the way they are today.
yeah. I mean, not to get political in this show, but the way that they are, the U.S. government today is targeting transgender people in so many ways about bathrooms and playing sports and gender affirming care. It's kind of sad that they can't live their full
They always
life.
go after what they think to be the weakest because they're cowards.
Yeah,
And so they go after the weakest ones in the group,
yeah,
thinking they can exert their superiority or whatever.
yeah, yeah. I can never figure out like exactly what they think that they're going to accomplish there, but they're scared of something.
They're reminding each other that they are big and masculine and better than everybody else.
Yeah. And then in San Francisco, you were there in the 70s, but then in the 80s, you had the AIDS crisis that came through. And how did that reshape the entire community? And just, you were talking before about it was everything, you could have sex with whoever you want. There's lots of great sex happening. But then the AIDS crisis came in, and it must have changed the whole landscape and the whole environment. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. It was devastating. And because the federal government wouldn't do anything about it. Again, we had to do it on our own. We had to create our own ways of caring for each other, feeding each other, housing each other, burying each other, partly because of the strength of the communities that was built in the bars. And we did a better job of caring for each other than anybody else has done taking care of previous epidemics.
Yeah.
But I lost almost everybody in my life.
I mean, were you terrified every time you would have sex with somebody at that point?
Yeah, I was very careful. I had a lot of sex, but I was very careful about how I did it. And I sat in the sauna one time, and I ran a little Pac-Man through my blood, and it sort of ate all the bad viruses. But I had a very early sense that I was not going to die. And that's something I could share with friends who were dying. But I knew down deep inside that I wasn't going to die.
Okay.
But a lot of, when you're fisting, there are no bodily fluids exchanged.
When you're what? When you're fisting?
Fisting, yes, fist
Okay.
fucking.
Okay.
Yeah. There's no bodily fluids are exchanged. So it's a very safe sex.
And we'll be right back. Okay, and now back to the show. Let's talk about like you. So you worked as a special assistant to 3 San Francisco mayors, and so tell me like how that was because that was must have been a huge. You had a lot of influence working for 3 different mayors. You had a lot of the
Now,
history that was happening.
no, untrue.
You didn't have any
Un,
influence with them.
no, I had much more influence as a volunteer than I did working for those 3 mayors.
So tell me about tell me about the volunteering then and the activism.
Okay, well, I co-chaired the board of the Human Rights Campaign Fund, which is now the Human Rights Campaign, the biggest
Yeah.
political organization in the country. Back then, and what we were doing then was raising money to support our friends and keeping the far right as much in control as possible. We weren't advancing our cause. We were fending off Jesse Helms and all those far right idiots who were denouncing us. I chaired the first HRCF dinner in San Francisco.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. And then I raised $3.5 million for the Queer Center at the San Francisco Main Library. And I was raising that money during the epidemic. And I made sure that I didn't want a dime of anybody's money that was going to AIDS. And we still raised $3.5 million. Actually, interestingly, the second largest group of donors came from Washington, D.C.
Mm. I want to kind of go back and talk about just your parents and what they expected of you because you wanted to live free and live this life. What were your parents' thoughts of how you were living your life?
Well, my parents kind of didn't know what to do with me
Okay.
because I was super smart. And my mother she listened to everything, but she never did anything about them. And my father just ignored me. And I was sort of left. Well, and there was this my father had an affair, and my family was merged with this wealthy family. And so but basically, by the time I was 12, I was on my own.
Mm.
And the saving grace for me was liberal religious youth, the youth organization of the Unitarian Church.
Okay.
Because first of all, that got me out of Wausau, Wisconsin, with bright kids from the Twin Cities. And it also opened me to a world there were Democrats. I remember coming back from the first conference thinking, my God, these Democrats are nice people. My father was a former FBI agent. We were a Republican household.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, since they left me on my own, I just made my own life.
And when you say they left you on your own kind of at 12 years old, like what does that mean? Did you have like a nanny or a caretaker or?
No. I mean, I sat at the dinner table every night and they paid, the roof over my head. But my father was so involved with his affair that he stopped parenting.
I see.
And my mother was conflict averse. So she just sort of kept things going and didn't care where I was over here. So.
And whenever your parents passed away, were you on good terms with them?
I'm sorry?
Were you on good terms with them? Were you speaking with them?
Yes, actually, my mother never understood gay.
Okay.
That was something that never
She couldn't comprehend
got
it.
in her head.
Yeah.
So I was still her son and still the the guy I'd always been. But the gay thing, she never connected with that.
Okay.
So, and she had a couple of strokes. Uh, but my father it took me 20 years of working on him. And he eventually came around in the last 5 or 6. He lived to be 95.
Wow.
And in his last 5 or so years, he was very accepting of me.
That's awesome. Did he recognize all the amazing things you did by raising money? No. Okay. Because you've had quite an amazing history. I mean, working, for 3 mayors is amazing on its own, but also the amount of
It's not. It was actually pretty tedious.
okay.
Politics is a game of waiting, and it's a game of sucking up,
Okay. Yeah.
and
I,
it's a
I understand that.
game of my mentor in city planning said the rule of government is to keep oil on the water, keep everybody calm so they're not killing each other.
Mm.
So progress is always made from the ground up. And government is sort of the interface between where change comes from and how it gets turned into law.
Well, I think what you've done with raising, especially that many millions of dollars back in the '80s, which is I think about what that amount would be in today's world. That's amazing what you've done, and then taking care of other people in the community that were sick at the time and stuff. Like, I think you should give yourself a big pat on the back and a big hug for all the great things that you've done. That's pretty. I mean, and you survived all that too. That's pretty amazing.
It's the best life. I couldn't have asked for a better life.
And tell me, you have a 50-year-old son named Seth.
That's correct.
Okay, how did you get a son? Can you tell me that?
I impregnated his mother.
Okay, so
That was,
good answer. Were you guys dating? So were you dating women at one point?
I was married.
Oh, you were married. Okay. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. Okay, and now back to the show. Oh, you were married. Okay.
Yeah. After graduate school, I joined the Peace Corps
Okay.
with my wife. And shortly after coming home, my son was born.
And how did your son take it whenever you said I'm gay? And was he fine with that?
That's all he knew.
Okay.
I grew up with so many lies that I was never going to lie to my son.
Mm-hmm.
And so he saw me, he was part of my life as a gay man. He knew, my partner, Michael, he considers a parent. And I asked him if he ever got bullied by friends at school because his dad was gay. And he said, oh no, they thought it was great. They wanted their own gay dad.
That's good. That's actually nice to hear.
I guess I did an okay job.
Yeah, it sounds like you did.
Yeah, I never pushed him to do anything. I let him develop on his own, but I was here to support him, whatever he did.
Yeah, that's amazing. Can you tell me about you've written 4 books, or you've been the author of 4 books?
About the book?
Yeah, tell me about your latest book.
Well, it's basically my history as a sexually active man. It's a series of stories of sexual encounters that I had over the course of 50 years, 40 years. And I wrote it because we're afraid to talk about sex.
Yeah.
And there's nothing more human than sex. So I thought, let's just write about it.
Yeah.
If you look at most gay stories, they kind of suggest there might be some sex going on, but they don't get into the greasy, lube, messy, paper towel kind of sex. That's what a lot of men actually do.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to honor my generation. I kind of owe it to them because they made me who I am.
Yeah.
And there were some just wonderful, beautiful men who just worked on behalf of the community, loved each other. We were family.
Yeah. I mean, do you look back and think about just, I grew up in the Miami Beach area in the 90s when the AIDS crisis was really killing people as well. They knew more about it than they did in the 80s, and I look back even at the 90s and think, I knock on wood and I'm thankful that I didn't get HIV or AIDS. And do you ever kind of reflect back on that, thinking like how lucky you are that you're still alive today?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm the luckiest guy in the world.
Yeah, it's hard to see so many people pass away from it too, because I felt like there was people dying all the time, and some people you didn't even know that had it. You would find out a week later that they died, and it was just such a sad time.
There was a very, very dark, painful period.
Yeah, hopefully we'll never have to go through that again, at least in our lifetime.
Well, we got to get rid of a certain political figure.
I agree with you. I'm 100% on the same page as you. So the name of your book is called Bonding in the Time of Plague. It's on Amazon Books, and I will put a link to your book so people can buy it in the description of this podcast or video. I'm so glad I got to talk with you because...
Well, thank you for interviewing me.
Yeah, because of what you've done is it's remarkable. The things that you've lived through, the things that you've done for the community, just your stories. I think you're a remarkable person. I really feel honored to be able to talk with you. So thank you so much for being on this podcast.
Namaste.
If this episode resonated with you, please share it, and also go out and buy Chuck Forrester's book. It's called The Bonding in the Time of Plague. And I will put a link again to the book so you can buy it directly from Amazon. Thank you so much for being on, Chuck. It was a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Have a good day. Thanks everybody for listening.